Sex and the City spin-off and Just Like That aired its final episode on Thursday, leaving very open ends and the prospect of new stories to tease the possibility of a second series. While there has been no official confirmation over a return, the stories of Carrie Bradshaw, Charlotte York Goldenblatt and Miranda Hobbs' lives are left with many more tales to tell, with Carrie finally moving on from her late husband, Charlotte continuing to tackle motherhood and Miranda moving to LA. With the final episode focusing heavily on Sarah Jessica Parker's character Carrie's attempts to move on from Big, who died in the first episode, she finally builds up the courage to spread his ashes in Paris before we explosively see her messaging Kim Cattrall's character Samantha Jones confirming a meet-up. The protagonist is then seen in the very final scene locking lips with her podcast producer, having decided to launch her own show on his advice, while Cynthia Nixon's Miranda prepares to move to LA to be with her girlfriend Che, played by Sarah Ramirez, and even dyeing her hair back to red. Earlier this week, Sarah was asked about the prospect of a second season, to which she replied, "Definitely, yeah." Showrunner Michael Patrick King and I spoke 2 weeks ago, and said, "Okay, when are we going to talk about this? There's a calendar and you don't want to let too much time pass. There feels like there's momentum." The evidence is clear in the episode, with Carrie's recovery from her big heartache being a large element of the show, and ending with her scattering his ashes from the bridge in Paris, which featured in the final episode, An American Girl in Paris, Part 2, when she was rescued by Big after moving there with Alexander Petrovsky. She even holds his ashes in the $1,675 Timmy Woods Eiffel Tower bag that fans first saw in the 2008 Sex and the City movie, which she sported while apartment hunting with Big. Despite having shot scenes for the reboot with Chris Noth, who has recently been accused of sexual assault, on the bridge, it looked as though these had been cut in the midst of his personal dramas and Carrie instead scattered his ashes alone, before we see her kissing her producer. With no explanation of the start of their romance and their kiss being the final scene, it appears there is plenty more to tell in regard to the newly found passion in her life, not to mention the fact that the show concludes with its catchphrase "And Just Like That," with no follow-up sentiment as with other episodes. Additionally, Samantha, whose storyline has seen her reside in London following a fallout with Carrie, makes her off-screen return when she agrees to meet Carrie for a cocktail. Although there has been staunch denials that she would ever return on screen, there is an element of mystery to her off-screen comeback. Miranda, meanwhile, having ended her relationship with Steve, agrees to move to Hollywood with Che, and before doing so, dyes her hair back to her trademark red, after being criticized in the first episode for going gray. In her final monologue, Carrie seems to give the nod to the open end. Carrie says, "The more I live, the more I find myself mystified. So much as life just doesn't seem to make sense, but if Terry's anything I've learned from my recent loss is that you will laugh again, especially if you have one or two good friends in your corner. And as for love, anything is possible. The future is unwritten. I'm glad that helps." Well, that's it for my very first podcast. It'll get better. So till next time. I'm Carrie Bradshaw, and this is Sex and the City. The show opens with Carrie recording her podcast, alongside her boss Che, played by Sarah Ramirez, and co-star Jackie Nay, played by Bobby Lee, as they detail the best way to be dumped. Jackie regaled, "Last year, a lady got COVID just so she didn't have to break up with me in person. That's why I win, best breakup. Yet Che recalls, "A woman broke up with me over FaceTime and she was so sweet I didn't see it coming, she should have called it to FaceTime." Carrie however drops the clanger, saying, "Okay, not so fast you lightweights. My husband died, death, the ultimate breakup, so clearly I win best breakup ever," which leads to mass agreement from her followers. Carrie is then seen talking to Big Zash's, "I'm going on a date. You happy?" 3 episodes after we saw Carrie go on a date with teacher Peter, played by John Tenney, during which their date was ruined by the duo getting so drunk that they vomited, she is seen on date number 2. Peter admits to Carrie that he had Googled her, and rather than anger, she reveals she too had Googled him and discovered he won a Best Teacher prize in 2018, while he found her best-selling author status. Things turn romantic, as he asks, "I'd like to kiss you. Would that be okay?" "I think we did okay for 2 heartbroken people," leading to agreement from Carrie. Once inside, Carrie calls Seema Patel, played by Sarita Chowdhury, who is in bed with Zed, played by William Abadi, and reveals they have been in a hotel room for days. She asks Carrie how the date went. Carrie explains, "Charming, lovely, awful, nervous," as Seema replies, "You or him," and Carrie explains they were both in the same boat, the awful nervous part was the goodnight kiss. She explains that the kiss was just his lips on my lips, he asked permission for the kiss, it's just a contract for the kiss, that's not how I remember it." Then here's Seema enjoying a steamy moment of her own. As Carrie turns off her bedside light, the lamp turns on twice by itself. The writer then heads to lunch with Charlotte and Miranda where she announces, "I think Big is mad at me. I went on a date with John and then he kissed me. Then right after, my reading light started blinking on and off. I think it could be Big, coming through my lamp." Charlotte insists that despite believing in ghosts and the afterlife, she does not believe that Big would send messages in such a form, yet Miranda mocks the concept, "You think Big is sitting in heaven on a cloud puffing on a cigar," something Carrie admits she likes to think. Miranda pushes, "Since when do you believe in the afterlife? I thought we were on the same page about this," although Carrie admits his death has made her change her views. "I can believe he is sitting on a cloud smoking a cigar sending messages through a lamp." After pulling focus on the show with her marital demise from Steve and her new love with Che, Miranda then announces that Che has asked her on a date and plans to meet their parents, something Charlotte delights in, which Carrie finds incredibly sweet. In an insight into Charlotte's life, her phone pings and she reveals she has managed to book a trans Robbie for her child Rock's bat mitzvah, in the wake of Rock's gender identity changes in earlier episodes. Due to Rock's change to non-binary, the family have agreed to change the ceremony to a they mitzvah. Following Kim Cattrall's absence in the show, due to bad blood behind the scenes, Carrie is seen texting Samantha, in what has been the Fourth Musketeer's only way of appearing on the show. She writes, "I kissed a man," before Samantha pens, "the first of many. How was it?" And Carrie replies, "It wasn't big." Samantha replies, "So, it was small," to Carrie's "Want to talk?" Samantha simply replies, "Soon," in a mysterious nod to Kim's presence. It is then that Carrie's lamp turns on. She enters a repair shop and asks for the lamp to be fixed, where she is told that the on and off nature of the lamp is strange, seemingly confirming her concerns about Big's subliminal messaging. As we head to the Upper East Side, Anthony Marantino, played by Mario Cantoni, presents Harry and Charlotte with a loaf of challah bread for Rock's Day mitzvah, yet angers Harry by using sourdough bread. He insists there must be some form of tradition given the fact they are shaking up the traditional event by making it a day mitzvah. As the rabbi enters the room, she is forced to tell Harry and Charlotte, "I'm not gonna sugarcoat this, great kid, completely unprepared, total disaster. It doesn't know even the basic prayers of the service." As she suggests hosting the service in English, Charlotte is left raging, "No, I did not convert to Judaism to have my daughter the mitzvah ed in English," before they reveal they had been kicked out by a number of rabbis. Anthony then storms into Rock's room to demand she works on her language. Returning to Miranda's romance, we see her arrive at a club where Che introduces her to her grandparents and says sit so we can start, and takes to the stage while Miranda appears confused. Che then takes the stage and begins performing and singing the Beach Boys' 1965 hit California Girls and then saying, "All of this is my way of telling all of you, yours truly is going to California." Hollywood called BS. "I'm making a pilot." They explained to Miranda that they didn't want to tell her the news until things were official, before regaling her exciting news and even announcing that Tony Danza has been cast as her father, yet through Che's excitement, although Miranda looks heartbroken and taken aback. Miranda is then more shocked when Che tells her she wants her to come join her on the West Coast. Miranda says, "I had no idea at all." Che is then seen announcing to Carrie and Jackie and their producer Franklin that she wants to leave the podcast. Jackie says, "Wait, this isn't a bit?" While Carrie says, "Damn, I was just getting the hang of this." She then chats to Jackie about his thoughts on the news. "I feel like someone who's survived a plane crash." Jackie invites her to a party which she vows to attend. Miranda then arrives at the office of Karen Pittman's character Drive. Nya Wallace, who has been teaching her law at Columbia, and with whom she has formed a friendship. She tells Nya, "I've made a big life decision and am still catching my breath. I've decided to finish this semester remotely. I'm going to LA for a few months. Che got a big TV thing and they asked me to go with them." Nya then seems worried that Miranda is pulling out of an internship at a human rights organization, yet Miranda is defiant and insists she is resisting thinking about it too much to avoid stopping herself. Carrie speaks to Seema about her steamy romance while she is headed to meet Big's brother at lunch, who asks her, "So, how have you been?" To which Carrie says, "I've been up and down." His brother asks, "Where's John?" And while Carrie comes over confused and reminds him Hested, he then clarifies he means where are his ashes. "I asked because I never received word of his final resting place." Carrie reveals he is in her closet, while his brother explains there is a place for him in the family crypt in Connecticut, before drawing out a map of the crypt. She replies, "Thank you, Richard. That's a lovely offer, but I need to think more about where John might want to be before I decide." Richard replies, "We are coming up on a year, Carrie." She insists she knows. She heads to the repair shop to collect her lamp and is told the wiring was broken. Carrie is then seen at Jackie's party, where Jackie and his girlfriend announce they are getting married. At the event, Carrie appears delighted for the pair before Franklin arrives. He tells her, "You're so good with relationship stuff. I think you're a podcast. Seriously, I'd like to produce you alone. Talking to callers. Give me a shout." As she returns home, she is seen speaking to her lamp, "If you're trying to reach me, blink." The light then turns on after she curls up to sleep. "That is so you," she states before going to sleep, and dreaming about being in Paris, where Big finally professed his love for her at the end of the series. As scenes turn to the mitzvah, Carrie tells Miranda and Charlotte, "So Big came to me in a dream last night. I know where he wants to be. Paris, on a bridge. So I want to be there for the 1-year anniversary. I have airline tickets and rooms at hotel booked, so it would be on hold, so it would be 3 days. We could do longer, it'll be my treat." Her friends agree to the visit. As things descend into chaos, Charlotte is left raging. Anthony arrives late with the bread and with a slew of his hot bakery delivery men, before Harry drags her to see Rock, who tells her they do not want to go outside as they don't believe in the Jewish values she is set to promise. Carrie and Miranda begin chatting at the sweet bar where the former announces her LA news. Carrie then says, "You can't fly to Paris from LA, it's a 14-hour flight," before storming to the ladies. Miranda speaks about the ins and outs of attending the Ashes scattering in Paris and reveals to Carrie that she has dropped out of her internship. Carrie replies, "The one you said was impossible to get?" Miranda hits back, "That feels like judgment. Why can't I choose love over an internship?" Yet Carrie points out the realities. "What are you gonna do in LA? Sit in an audience? Okay, that was judgment." They begin to go back and forth where Miranda insists she needs Carrie's approval. Rabbi Jen then comes out of the toilet to break down their situations, apologizing for Carrie's loss and congratulating Miranda for finding love. Those relationships are clear, but what's really important is the relationship between you. I see this a lot as a rabbi, as a friend. I'm rooting for you too. I can hear how strong your bond is. It presents challenges from time to time. Charlotte and Harry continue in their attempts at persuading Rock. As Harry offers her an Oculus or an Apple Watch, they reply, "That's not the point. I don't want to be labeled as anything, a girl, a boy, non-binary, a Jew, Christian, Muslim, a New Yorker." Charlotte asks, "You're nothing now?" Rock then states, "I'm only 13. Can't I just be me?" A tearful Charlotte runs to her pal Lisa, played by Nicole Parker, and tells her the news before voicing concerns that she's a failure as a mom and as a Jew. Lisa insists, "Everyone in this room feels like a failure as a mom, but no one tries as hard as you." Charlotte comes up with an idea after insisting that somebody needs to get a mitzvah out given what she has put into the day. She then receives the blessing of her own, with Carrie saying, "Our little girl is a woman," before Harry and Lily join her at the altar, alongside a reluctant Rock. Carrie then tells Charlotte that Miranda is not coming to Paris, due to her trip to LA, before Carrie says, "You two got me this far, I think I can do the rest on my own." Miranda and her son Brady head to the airport together. Things truly change back as Miranda dyes her grey locks back to her trademark red, following remarks in the first episode from Charlotte about her grey look. As we are transported to Paris, Carrie walks along the bridge, which featured in the final episode, An American Girl in Paris, Part 2, when she was rescued from Paris by Big after moving there with Alexander Petrovsky. Clad in a wildly over-the-top dress in orange and wearing pink gloves, she clutches the $1,675 Timmy Woods bag that fans first saw in the first Sex and the City movie while she is apartment hunting with Big. She scatters the ashes from within the bag before taking her phone out of her bag and texting Samantha, "I'm in Paris, want to meet for a cocktail?" To which Samantha responds, "How's tomorrow night?" And Carrie replies, "Fabulous." Back in New York, Carrie is seen hosting her own podcast, having taken Franklin's advice. She is heard speaking to a weeping caller, and giving emotional advice in her final monologue. Carrie says, "The more I live, the more I find myself mystified. So much as life just doesn't seem to make sense, but if Terry's anything I've learned from my recent loss is that you will laugh again, especially if you have one or two good friends in your corner. And as for love, anything is possible. The future is unwritten. I'm glad that helps." Well, that's it for my very first podcast. It'll get better. So till next time. I'm Carrie Bradshaw, and this is Sex and the City. Franklin says, "I feel like it couldn't have gone any better." "How do you feel?" She says, "Oh, like it could have gone better." He says, "Well, sure, you were great. Just great. Really. Faux affronted, Carrie replies, "You made it so lost. Every time I felt lost, you were there looking back at me." With the end of the episode wrapping up with a neat "and just like that," followed by a conclusion, this episode ended without a conclusive note, leaving things open for a return. More videos. 1, 2, 3. Watch video. Kim Kardashian flaunts her curves in Skims Valentine's line. Watch video. Sir Rod Stewart and his sons attend the Glasgow Derby at Celtic Park. Watch video. Lily James stuns fans with fake breasts in Pam and Tommy. Watch video. Rihanna poses for Fendi Beauty Day after pregnancy announcement. Watch video. Gwyneth Paltrow eats one of her candles in Uber Eats advert. Watch video. Paris Jackson and brother Prince Michael attend MJ red carpet. Watch video. Britney Spears posts bikini video from the beach featuring lion. Watch video. Queen passes Prince Harry's rugby patronages over to Kate Middleton. Watch video. Massive brawl erupts at Golden Corral after buffet ran out of steak. Watch video. Aston Martin reveals its DBX 707 SUV that can hit 193 miles per hour. Watch video. Michael Jackson lookalike shows off his copycat dance moves. Watch video. Unvaccinated Hulk Louise Orchestra breaks down over sacking